Where is he going to be speaking today?
He will be at the Maple Grove Barnes and Nobles at 7 o'clock.
And so there's also controversial things in the book. I give my view on Kennedy. I do not believe that Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy, not alone. I don't believe it. I've studied it for 20 years. And I also raised 9/11 today. And I do that because there's questions that I am not getting answers to when I ask them. And there's also, they doth protest too much when you ask them. If it's what they told us happened, they should have no problem defending it. They should have no problem giving you an answer to it. And it's simple questions, like how did the buildings fall at the rate of gravity? They fell in 10 seconds. Both in the 9/11 report, and you can stopwatch it next time you watch it. How can that be if you've studied physics? Believe me, I got a C, but I still took physics. And I still understood that in physics, when a movable object hits one that's not moving, it's going to slow everything down. It's that simple, people. And yet these buildings were on the ground in 10 seconds. If you took a billiard ball and dropped it in a vacuum, from the height of the World Trade Center, it would take 9.3 seconds to hit the ground. How could these buildings of steel and concrete land within 0.7 of a second of a free-falling billiard ball? How could they? And then using the scenario of the fire, it burned so hot it caused it to collapse. Well, using that analogy, first of all, jet fuel's 4/5 kerosene. That don't burn too hot. They all know kerosene. Propane burns hotter. Now, using their analogy, if I were to turn on my camp stove or my stove at home, if it's propane, and leave it on for 3 to 4 hours, and then stick a big can of beans on the grates, shouldn't they collapse from the heat and the weakening of the metal and the steel? Seems to me they should, in layman's terms. I mean, you got a flame right underneath it, burning constantly, a lot more than there were in the World Trade Center. And let's remember something, the smoke there was getting progressively darker. Now, any fireman will tell you, when smoke is getting darker, it means the fire is cooling. It's not getting hotter, it's being deprived oxygen. It's being deprived, like when you have a campfire up at the lake, and you throw dirt on it or water, what happens? It smokes. Because it's being deprived oxygen. All I ask for is the truth. But let's remember, we in America today like to say we want to hear the truth. We like to feel we want the truth. Then why is it that we attack all the truth tellers?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do the truth tellers get attacked? Case in point, baseball. Who was the only baseball player telling the truth? Jose Canseco. About abusive steroids in the game of baseball. Yet what did our people do, and what did our media do, and what did everyone do? They destroyed Jose Canseco. The only truth teller, the only guy that told the truth. Yeah, he ratted his buddies, I suppose, but is that what we are today? Oh, don't rat your buddies, rather than the truth. People say they want the truth, but they don't truly always do. And so I cover those things in there because I want you to wake up. And we better wake up. We better wake up and take our country back. Because right now, the Democrats and Republicans are not doing a good job. Ladies and gentlemen, this is indefensible. We are $9 trillion in debt. How can they possibly, any of them, defend that? Yes, sir.
Yeah, over the years, several congressmen, women and men have been bothered by the CIA and the federal government regarding the events of 9/11. I was wondering if you would comment as far as if you made Senate, Minnesota State Senate, if you would support people like Cynthia McKinney that ask for a new and open investigation into 9/11.
Absolutely, I would support it.
And,
if you read my book, you'll find out that if I became president, I would not only open up 9/11, I would open up Iran-Contra, I would open up Kennedy again, and I would do all those things. But then read the results in my book of what would happen to you.
I also heard you.
I do write that in there too, as a little bit of a futuristic.
And on another point, unrelated, about the media, about, when you pick a paper up and you read about our local candidates, and they always have something disparaging to say about you or your candidates.
Oh, always. That's because the media's in the back pocket of the two parties. I mean, they clearly showed that when you found out that leading up to the war, all the so-called expert generals all came right out of Rumsfeld's office with briefings. They knew what they were going to say. You learned about that when you found out the administration was paying off journalists to promote. So don't buy your journalism and think that we're the free press today. Not at all. They're bought and sold, and they're manipulated by the government. We don't have free press. The only thing that's saving us today, and believe me, they're going to be coming after it hard, the internet. That'll be next on that they're going to have to limit, because there's too much communication going on between all of us on the internet. They can't allow for that, especially when you got fascism. Anyone know the definition of fascism? It's when corporations team with organized religion to control your government. Sound familiar?
I appreciated you going on Alex Jones, too.
Okay. Any other questions? Nothing more than that. Who haven't I talked to? Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. I'd like to say, first of all, I commend you on your able to self-sustain yourself by not choking the hell out of Sean Hannity. It was nice to see him put his tail between his legs.
Well, let me tell you something. Fox was scared of me. Yeah. I was out there in person. See, they got great courage when they get you on those screens and you're not in the room. Yeah. But no, it was pretty interesting how, and I ran into O'Reilly walking into the building. And it was pretty interesting that when you see them face to face, they're much gentler and kinder. But then remember, they're all chicken hawks. When it was time for them to serve, you couldn't find them.
What I'd like to ask you, though, directly is when you and Ron Paul get into office for the presidency, and because most people are going to put their real votes on there, not what we're told, how are you going to get rid of the Federal Reserve?
That'll be a task, because you could get killed over that.
Who else is
John
killed
F.
for that?
Kennedy was thinking of doing that.
Thank you, sir.
And we all remember what happened to him. John F. Kennedy was going to take us off the Federal Reserve. He talked about it.
Executive orders.
That's the real 800-pound gorilla.
Oh.
And believe me, I think you could die over that one. You have to be prepared to if you're gonna.
Thank you, sir.
And what perturbs me today, they lied about the Gulf of Tonkin incident now. That was the catalyst that got us into the Vietnam War, where they stated that the North Vietnamese had fired at 2 of our ships. I was at Harvard when McNamara came through, and McNamara's going to die soon, so I guess he's got to see his maker, so you got to kind of make amends. McNamara now admits the Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened. What? Never happened.
InfoWars.
Never happened. 58,000 of our generation killed in Vietnam, and probably 1 million Vietnamese killed in that war over an incident that was made up. Did not happen. Anybody starting to question me on 9/11 now? If they did it once, they'll do it again, won't they? If it worked once, always remember too what Adolf Hitler said. The most despicable man ever in our lifetimes, or we know of. The bigger the lie, the easier to sell. Hitler said it himself. The bigger the lie, the easier to sell. Anybody feel like a lemming when you hear that? Experience one? Yeah, I'm doing the show again. Yeah. Thank you. You know what I notice that's interesting? You notice it's young people that all wear the Investigate 9/11 shirts? It's a lot of young people. I'm trying to figure out why they don't trust the explanation they got.
Is that good?
They're getting wise beyond their years, I think.
Loose change. Howard, you ready?
All right.
Oh.
It doesn't have to be just the young folk.
Yes, so you're gonna give that to me? So I can wear it?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, what is it, double XL?
It is? You got the double.
Coffee? Who's coffee? Coffee? Who's coffee? All right.
Yeah, we're.
Okay, anyone else?
Thank you very much, Jesse.
You're welcome. Thanks. No problem. Keep up the good work, guys. Keep asking the questions, even when they don't know.
Trumpets and violins I can hear in the distance. I think they're calling our name.